Hi, my name is Elizabeth Talbert. I am pursuing a BS in engineering. When I started off my college journey, I was originally going to school at Santa Clara University pursuing a BS in bioengineering. However, due to personal and family reasons, I decided to finish my degree online. I was already interested in topics that were interdisciplinary. So, in a lot of my bioengineering classes, I found myself most drawn to topics that were rooted in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering and was interested in learning more about the core of those areas where I didn't really have a strong background in that. I had a strong background in the life sciences, which would have been great if I was going to medical school or going into the biomedical field, more of the life sciences aspect, but I also wanted to do research that applied engineering principles to the life sciences. So this degree in engineering fits my interests, I think, a little bit better than just bioengineering did in general. A little bit more about my professional background. Last summer, I interned at NASA Ames Research Center, and I had a summer project where I looked at the temporal effects of ultra low storage on biospecimens. So it's just a kind of a fancy way of saying like what happens to these tissues or biospecimens after they've been kept in freezers for a long time. So in the International Space Station, there are experiments conducted on plants or model organisms, animals, and a lot of times those studies are only focused on one system. So, for example, if a rat was sent to space and there was a research team that wanted to know what the effects of microgravity were on the eyes, all they would do at the end of that research study would be to extract the eyes and examine the ocular system and see if there were any genetic or physical effects of being in space on that system, and then the rest of the rat really wouldn't be pertinent to that particular study. So what happens to the rest of the rat is that it's dissected and then it's sent back to California to Ames Research Center, where it's stored in a biobank, which is just a big freezer where all of these biospecimens are stored and kept. That way, if there's another research team that's interested in, say, the liver or the kidneys or what happens to those systems and when they're experiencing microgravity, they can write a proposal and get a specimen that was actually in space, then no need for a new mission, and explore the effects of microgravity on that system, which is pretty cool. So, so my research was just what happens to these specimens, how do they hold up over time when they're being kept in storage. Other experience that I have, I've worked at a heat treating facility where I worked in a material science lab to see or we'll actually to test kind of the efficacy of the furnaces that were there. So they would treat gears, knives, parts of planes, and have them heat treated. Sometimes there were extra gases that were added to the furnaces to have different effects on the material, which is really cool. So if you inject carbon into it, you have like a carbon coating on the outside or a certain layer of depth that it penetrates, and that carbon being present when the metal or the material is being heat treated can have an effect on the structural integrity of the metal or the different structural properties that it has, which is really cool. And what I did there was I would take little samples of metal and cut them into slivers and look under a microscope after it's been acid washed to amplify what the effects were on the metal, so you could see it on a microscope and see where those changes were made. That was also really fun. From my background, you could kind of tell that I really love lab work. I'm a lab rat. That's the space that I feel the most comfortable in. So hopefully upon graduation, I can work in a material science lab doing some sort of research or research and development. Ultimately, I would like to be a systems engineer. I think it's something great to be able to learn new things every day. And if you're a systems engineer, you're kind of like a project manager to make sure all the other engineers are on the same page. So working in that interdisciplinary atmosphere, you would definitely learn a lot every day, and you never get bored and kind of get bored easily. So that's something that I would love to pursue when my career becomes more matured and when I have more professional experience. So I'm really looking forward to hear everyone else's stories, and I hope you guys are having a great time here at Embry Riddle.